Hey everyone, this is Lauren Hood with VLocity Group and the TruckingMBA. We get a lot of questions at VLocity Group about people who want to get their own operating authority. Today I'd like to address some of those questions. How do I get my authority? You know, you're really asking the wrong question there. The question isn't how do you get your authority, it's how do I start a trucking company? Getting your authority, quite frankly, is one of the easier steps in the very long process of getting to starting your trucking company. And quite frankly, the other steps are the ones that can cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if they're not done correctly. Can you afford it? You know, the first thing you need to think about is the startup capital that you're going to need before you even haul your first load. So before we start to worry about getting your operating authority and all those other steps, let's consider the money that you're going to need to get to that very first income point. And you know what? We've talked to a lot of people about this in person and over the phones, and we are more than happy to give you a free consultation on what you really need to consider for your startup costs if you shoot us an email or give us a phone call here at VLocity Group. So what's the first step once I know I can afford to move forward? Surprisingly, it isn't getting your operating authority. It's deciding what your company structure is going to be, registering that company with your state, and then getting your FEIN or Federal Employer Identification Number. Those are the steps that have to be taken before you start to get your authority. I have my business in place. I have the capital that I need. Now can I get my authority? Yes, now you can. You can go to fmcsa.dot.gov and register for your DOT number and your operating authority. Like we said earlier, this is probably one of the easier steps in the entire process to starting your trucking company. It does cost $300 of the capital that you've planned for and will take you approximately 15 to 20 minutes to fill out the online form. Please make sure that you are ready and prepared with all the information about your company and the thoughts around how many trucks, trailers, and drivers that you're going to have in that first 6 months to a year. Going back into the form to make corrections is not always easy, so make sure that you're ready to do this all in one fell swoop. I have my DOT filed. Now what do I do? Now what you do is going to greatly impact the potential for those costly mistakes that we talked about earlier. So for example, insurance. Should you have one or multiple insurance agents? Should you say certain things or not say certain things? When should your insurance be filed? Does that even make a difference? What about filing for your UCR or BOC3? When should that take place? Does that matter? What about trailers, trucks, and equipment? When should your financing be started? When should you pick up your equipment? Does that make a difference? Listen, we know there's all kinds of great advice out there in truck stop restaurants, on the internet, in forums, etc. But your situation, it's going to be different than your friend who just went through the same process. And we know that because every single day we talk to people and their situations are all different. Everyone's situation can impact their financial startup costs differently. And we want to make sure here at VLocity that you don't make those kind of costly mistakes. Okay, wait, what was it you were saying about insurance? Look, what we're saying is not that you can't shop multiple agents, but we're saying shop the agent first before you shop the insurance. A good agent can make a huge financial difference for you because of the way that they present you to the underwriters. You want an agent who knows how to present you in the very best possible light so they can get you the very best possible rates. One thing you may not know is that a lot of insurance companies don't want to work with people with new authorities. So it's very important that you find an agent that has relationships, and many relationships, with those few companies that will work with somebody with a new authority. The difference between an agent who has multiple relationships with agencies that will work with you versus that agent that may only have one are the choices that you're going to have at the end of the day when it comes to actually binding your insurance in place. And we understand this sounds like a complicated process. Again, this is something that we've worked with many, many people. And we do have relationships with agents who do have those relationships with the insurance companies that will want to work with you as a new trucking company. So let us know if you'd like a referral into one of those agencies. So should I factor? Nice try. Nope, we're not going to answer that question for you. There's a lot of thoughts around factoring that are both good and bad, and frankly, we're not in the position to make that decision around your financial best interest. What we do want to point out that is very important is that should you decide to factor, there are certain things that you definitely want to be thinking about. Number one, what kind of agreement are you getting into? Number two, what are your costs? Number three, what kind of hidden costs might come up after you sign your contract that you really weren't clear on? And did you know there are even factoring companies out there whose quote-unquote applications are actually binding contracts? Do you really want to work with a company that sets you up like that? As you've probably already guessed, yes, we do have relationships with factoring companies that we consider to be forthright and good factoring companies. So if that's the way you decide to go, if you believe that's best for you, feel free to reach out and we can refer you over to those companies. So what about all my other permits? Wow, you're right. There is a lot of permits out there. Between your UCR, your BOC3 filing, your KYU, your IFTA, your IRP, my goodness, your New Mexico, your MCS 150 filing, all this stuff, it just comes on and on and on. And you know what? It's really important that you keep up with not only when to file them, how much they cost, but what about your tax filings? And are you calendaring for them? Because I'll tell you what, missing those deadlines can again be costly. So yes, there's lots and lots of permits that you need to worry about, lots of filings, lots of deadlines. We do at VLocity Group have a calendar that we can provide to you if you want to shoot us an email at info@velocitygroup.com. Am I done yet? What about compliance? Yep, you got to worry about compliance. And sorry, even if you're just a one truck, one owner driver, you're the driver company, you've got to worry about your driver qualification file, your drug test, your MVR, your vehicle files, everything that comes into compliance. So yes, you're not done yet. You really do need to set these things up in advance. Setting these things up in advance is going to make your life so much easier in the long run. And if you do it right, it should only take you about 10 minutes every month to keep your compliance files in order so that if you are ever audited or when you face that new entrant audit, you're ready to go and confident about it. And when it comes to audits, listen, there are three big areas that we see, especially new companies, make mistakes in. One is that you do have to have a driver qualification file and a full safety background check done on yourself, even if you are the owner and the driver. So please make sure that gets done. Number two, you have to have a pre-employment drug test and the results back in and have to be part of a drug consortium before you run that very first load. Number three, you do have to keep monthly preventative maintenance records on your equipment, and you definitely have to document the corrections that you've made to your equipment if there was something found during a roadside inspection. All that needs to be part of that vehicle maintenance file. So let's get back to that original question. How do you get your operating authority? So hopefully now you can see that the real question should have been, how do I start a trucking company? And that isn't as easy or simple or quick as getting your operating authority. Getting your operating authority takes $300 and about 20 minutes of your time. Starting a trucking company, though, there's a lot more to that. And we want to help you along the way. So feel free to reach out to us at info@velocitygroup.com to give us a call. And of course, smash that like button if this was helpful and share this video. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great week.